Channel welcomes you to the prettiest little short track in the nation, Martinsville Speedway, for its Bud Pole qualifying for NASCAR's Nextel Cup Series. Outside New England, there's nowhere prettier this time of year than the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Beautiful fall color. Some of those leaves are going to get vibrated off the trees by the roar of these cars as 50 of them attempt to make the field for Sunday's Subway 500. Let's go down to the bottom of the bowl. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, 15 cars broke the old track record during practice that Tony Stewart set here back in 1999. And Rusty Walsh, you won here back in April. I know you couldn't wait to get back here, but let's talk about the new concrete in the corners. Do you like it? Not like it?
No, I do like it. It is totally different from last time, though. I mean, you drive the racetrack the same. It feels a ton smoother. It's real smooth, but I got to tell you, it's a totally different setup, too. At least for me it is. I mean, the track's much tighter. I had to run the car a lot freer and chassis setup to get around here.
He has 7 wins here. He'll chase another pole and chase his 8th win on Sunday. To Marty Snyder.
Matt, in the practice earlier today, Jamie McMurray was 11th fastest, but just a moment ago in Craftsman Truck Series practice, he was 2nd fastest. So has the track changed at all since the Cup cars were last on it?
I don't know. It's really hard to say because in the trucks we went out with air pressure really low, and I don't think I ran my best lap to like lap 30. So this was, let's see, the Chevron Texaco Haviland Dodge was really good in the morning practice. We were just a little bit loose in the middle, and you don't hear guys say that very often. So Donnie and I were just talking about some air pressure adjustments I think we're going to change. He's really good at, after every time we do a qualifying run and we get ready to do the actual qualifying session, I always ask him what the racetrack does, and he's really good at knowing what kind of change we need to make. So he said it's going to get a little bit loose, so we're going to tighten it up.
Speaking of really good, they had a great car here in April, finishing 7th.
Thanks, Marty. Hi, everybody. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and Jeff Hammond with you once again. One of my favorite little racetracks, Martinsville, Virginia, where they've been racing since 1947, but now everything is new. New track surface because of what happened earlier this year as some of the concrete came apart during the running of the April race, and some of it found its way off the surface and into Jeff Gordon's car with rather performance-limiting results. So instead of patching it, which they did very effectively that day to get a raceable surface and finish the event, they have gone and resurfaced this old gray lady, and it is set to go once again, and we're set to see the track record fall. Among all the racetracks, Larry, perhaps here is the one where qualifying up front is most important.
Well, you know, even for 400 or 500 lap race like we have here at Martinsville, qualifying is important. 3.5 to 4 hours, you would think it does not matter where you start. But this is basically a single groove racetrack. The only way you can pass someone is basically knock them out of the way or during the sequence of pit stops. And the other reason that qualifying is so important here, and I think it's one reason Jeff Gordon has had so much success, he normally qualifies on the pole. There's 43 pit stalls here, but in all honesty, there's only one pit stall that's good, and that's that very last pit stall leaving pit road right there, the number 1, because when that guy makes his pit stop, he only has to move a few feet to beat the competitors off pit road. This pit road is very tight, and it never fails. We have cars beating and banging on each other on pit road.
So that can certainly be an advantage starting anywhere up front, because when the green flag waves, the fellows in the last row are already half a lap behind on NASCAR's shortest track. So Jeff Hammond, let's take that and put it into perspective for the fellows at the top of this chase for the Nextel Cup.
Well, Mike, we already know right now that Kurt Busch is leading this point race, but he's closely been followed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. And when you look at the short track effort these guys have been putting down this year, well, for Kurt Busch, he's not been doing too well up here at Martinsville. In October 2002, he won here, but since then he's been 28th, 39th, but in April he at least was 11th. But for Dale Jr., hey, all year long, all the short tracks, he's got an average finish of 3.6. So when you come to a short track and you're looking to gain some points, if you're looking at statistics, Dale Jr.'s definitely got the upper hand, at least right now.
And aside from the usual suspects like Earnhardt Jr. and Ryan Newman at the top of the practice chart, you'll find non-championship chasers like Ricky Rudd, Scott Riggs, and Joe Nemechek, all within the top half dozen, with Rudd having the fastest practice time. Ward Burton will be first on the clock next. Bud Pole qualifying for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series from Martinsville, Virginia is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. And by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll pick you up. Ward Burton, Jeff Burton, Travis Quaffel, the defending Truck Series champ, Jamie McMurray, and German sports car racer Klaus Graf will be the first 5 to test the clocks here at Martinsville.
Mike, I don't mind telling you right now, I've always worried about going out first when you qualify here at Martinsville for some reason. I think it's a mental thing, but a lot of times you get yourself in trouble. We see a lot of what I consider guys who've got to make it in on time having to go out first, and I think it's going to be tough for them.
50-car field. Here's Marty.
When Matt Kenseth left here in April, Mike, he said, now I remember why this is one of my worst racetracks, but you were 7th fastest this morning, so and just told me that doesn't mean anything. How does that not mean anything?
Just practice. Practice doesn't pay anything, but the track, I think, is suited better for how we run here for some reason. Since they ground it, we never ran very good. And last time we ran here on the bottom, we ran okay. So I brag on engine shop every week, but we got awesome engines in these cars. And actually, Martinsville, for being so small, you wouldn't think engine would mean anything, but it means a lot here. You know, if you can get the power down off the corner, it's like 2 drag strips here. And right now, the car is handling reasonably well. It's got good bite, and it's got tons of power. So hopefully we'll get a good qualifying lap and be able to run decent on Sunday.
All about that forward bite off the corner, isn't it, Larry Mack?
Yes, sir. Always at Martinsville.
Ward Burton will be on track when we come back. 50 cars are set to qualify at the nation's smallest super speedway. Ward Burton on track at Martinsville, Virginia. Larry Mack's going to tell us who's on trackside tonight.
We're going to have a lot of the Truck Series boys on there, including Brandon Witt, Steve Park, a man going for 3 consecutive wins, Todd Bodine, and the man has probably had as good a car as anybody in these 5 races in the chase, but no luck except for that win at Dover, Ryan Newman.
Larry, I was going to say also, we may have a surprise guest. Joe Nemechek may show up for us tonight also.
Another man has a little momentum on his side.
Ward Burton in the Net Zero Chevy. Big change at this team this week at the crew chief position. Booty Barker elevated from the Haas Automation Busch team up to crew chief as they plan for next year with this Net Zero Chevy in the Nextel Cup Series.
Interestingly enough, though, Mike, I was down there, and Bill Engel, who's been the interim crew chief for the biggest part of the season, was still down there with the team. He's still going to be, you know, working with this group. But like I say, this is a little different capacity as they try to get ready for 2000. A lot of teams doing a lot of shaking up here lately in the final few races to try to find some continuity to build off of going into 2005.
Ward has qualified in the top 12 the last 4 races here at Martinsville with a best effort of 4th. In fact, 3 top half-dozen efforts out of those 4 races.
So much for the track record already. Ward Burton actually broke it on the first lap, a little bit quicker on the second lap, but 1970, that breaks Tony Stewart's track record by 1.5 tenths.
That's big. Next up, next Burton, Jeff Burton from South Boston. So this would be home track racing for the Burton brothers.
You know, even by the luck of the draw, guys, you don't normally see brothers going out after each other. I mean, that's just kind of an unusual type of thing happening here today.
And one thing NASCAR does here, they actually give the cars almost a full extra lap before they take the green flag, because they go off a pit road, as we saw a while ago in the opening, in turn 1. So they actually give them another lap, which is not a bad thing, because one of the big challenges here in qualifying is getting heat in those tires.
Jeff has 4 third-place starts here and 1 win that he scored for Jack Roush in this race 7 years ago.
Jeff was 23rd quickest in practice at a 1990. His first lap 1979, so he picks it up from practice. And Jeff, the good thing I think about not being that bad about going out first is the track didn't sit. They had NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series practice on there just a few minutes ago, so that's when you get in trouble, is if you go out first if the track is sat for a while.
Or if somebody put a little bit of oil on the racetrack, so it'll be interesting to see. And Burton just completed his second lap, just a little bit slower, which is kind of a surprise. Usually the second lap has been faster, but hey, new racetrack, new times, you never know.
Marty's with last week's pole sitter.
And Ryan Newman, who has never qualified out of the top 10 here at Martinsville, is early a bit of a disadvantage, Ryan, or maybe not so bad today?
I don't think so today. We're just going to do our best in our All-Tall Dodge. We were pretty good in practice, so we'll just give it our best. Cold today, so it's hard to get a little heat in the tires, so we'll try to do our best to do that, and hopefully the second lap will be the fastest.
It is a little chilly down here on pit road. Ryan, second fastest in the morning practice session.
Thanks, Marty. There has been speculation that Brendan Gaughan's seat in his Penske Jasper Dodge might be in jeopardy. This will add fuel to those rumors. This is Travis Kvapil, the Craftsman Truck Series champion of 2003. This is a Penske R&D car, Penske Jasper Mobil 1 Dodge. Don Miller waves off such speculative talk. He said this is just part of our program to evaluate young drivers and do a little bit of experimenting and testing. They've had other young drivers in their car this season on one-off rides, so not to make too much out of this.
Yeah, this is Travis's first attempt at an Nextel Cup car. I know they come up here and tested. He was 13th quickest in practice. Pretty good lap for Travis on that first lap, 1983. And I'm glad to see someone giving Travis a chance, because I think with that Truck Series teams he's with right now, pretty much on his last leg, probably going to close the doors at the end of the year. This will be a good opportunity for him.
And he run exactly the same thing he did in practice earlier today. See if he can pick it up a little bit. Second lap. Yes, he does.
He's within 1,000th of Ward Burton.
And he was a go or go home car. No provisionals for this car.
All right, let's hear from Ward.
Well, Mike, I've got both Burtons with both internet companies. First off, let's talk about brother to brother. What'd you tell him about your lap?
That his was better.
The time showed that. How'd you describe your lap, Ward?
It was a lot better than we had in practice. Picked up a little bit over 2/10. It was real smooth getting into the corner. Need a little bit more forward bite going to the throttle. But pretty good lap. I think at times they're going to pick up, particularly the guy to get to go out later, because the track's going to get more grip.
He was 20th fastest in practice, Mike.
Right now he's on top of the board as Jamie McMurray makes his run in the Texaco Haviland Dodge.
I tell you guys, this race team right here, other than maybe Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., has probably been the most solid team over the last couple of months. The last 9 races, with the exception of Talladega, 8 top 10 finishes. That top 10 better be glad this team didn't make that chase for the championship.
McMurray started outside pole here in the spring race.
And has always ran well here, as you heard our guys talking earlier when we interviewed him. The only time he ran bad here is when he had an engine failure. You see right there, that little green bubble looking pretty good right there halfway down the backstretch, but just before entering turn 3. But I think what he did, he eased the car in and was able to pick the throttle up quickly.
Jamie McMurray trying to knock Ward Burton off the pole. Nope. Third quickest, 1971 for McMurray. This is Klaus Graf, the German sports car driver in the DHL Dodge, a teammate to Kenny Schrader, and it looks like he may be headed home overnight. 20.21, that is 5/10 off of Ward Burton, and it's 4 or more tenths off everybody else. Second lap was a little slower as he picked up a lot of paint off the concrete wall coming off turn 4.
Yeah, 2021, I'm going to be about willing to bet and say you're going to have to run in the 19s to make the fastest 38.
I think you're right, Larry. Sterling Marlin in the Coors Light Dodge, and Graf is a go or go home. No provisional available there. He has run 1 race at Sonoma. Sterling started outside pole here for the Morgan McClure team in 1994. He has 2 second-place finishes.
You heard him when he drove off into turn 1, hit that rev limiter. I was scanning a lot of the drivers during practice, and a lot of them were tuning with that rev limiter because it gives them a good indication not to overdrive the entrance of the corner. It starts cutting cylinders out when it reaches a certain RPM.
5th quickest for Sterling on his first lap. He's going to be looking for more than this 1985.
There it is, cutting in one more time, letting him know that, hey, time to back off, get out of that throttle, and try to roll her down in the corner and get back in the throttle.
He's back in the throttle plenty quickly enough. Let's see if it picks up. It does, about 1/2 tenth. Doesn't move him off of 5th place. Matt?
And Travis is debriefing with Roy McCauley now. Are you done shaking? Get out of the car and your hands were shaking.
I think so. I was pretty nervous. I was pretty excited, you know. I just didn't, you know, going out early and things like that. I'm glad we got it over with. Everybody on Penske Racing did a great job. Roy did a great job. Fortunately, we were able to come up here last week and make a few laps, so that really helped. And they sprung this on us all Monday. And I got to thank Alex and Bang Racing for letting me do this. You know, it's what a great team to do it with, and we got a good lap in, so I'm happy.
Currently 2nd. Marty?
Well, Matt, let's talk to Mark Martin. And how's the car today, Mark?
I was okay. It's all right. I like the track smooth. I look forward to getting race trim, and I could really evaluate it a little bit better. I really couldn't tell a whole lot, you know, in the 2-lap practice.
You've had 5 days to kind of digest what happened last week. That was a tough one to take, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, but it happens. It's just we didn't need it to happen to us.
Good point. Mark clearly had a top 5 car at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, and obviously had some problems there getting involved in a wreck while running second. Mike.
If you missed the explanation, Brendan Gaughan had a tire going down, couldn't make it to pit road, was rear-ended by Jimmy Spencer, and Mark got swept up in the wreck, not of his own making.
You've got to have some luck in these final 10 races if you're going to be able to be a contender. So far, Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., as well as Jeff Gordon have had some pretty good luck, and the rest of the contenders, well, it's kind of been a mixed bag.
No room for mulligans when you're only playing 10. Scott Wimmer is 6th on his first lap in the Bill Davis Caterpillar Dodge. 1997, second lap is slower.
And I think the reason he slowed down, I was watching him in turn 1 and 2. It's like he overdrove the entrance. The car must have felt really good on that first lap. He overdrove the entrance and could not keep the car down, which held him up, picking the throttle back up on the exit of the corner.
Well, now that we've told you about it, let's show it to you. What happened to Mark Martin?
And again, Brendan Gaughan, what we understood, as you mentioned, Mike, the 77 car was trying to get to pit road. And what's sad about that as well, Jimmy Spencer in that 4 car probably had one of the best runs he's had all year long going.
Yeah, Spencer was 15th at the time. Brendan said he knew he couldn't make pit road, so he was just trying to get down, out of the way, down to the apron. Couldn't do it. Here's the defending Nextel Cup champion, Matt Kenseth.
He also had a pretty tough weekend at Charlotte, got caught up in several situations right there, but they battled back and, you know, made basically something out of nothing.
But here's the deal. We're halfway through these 10 races, and right now, Matt in the 17 car is 7th in points, 215 points out. That's a full, more than a full race out of the lead right now. So they're depending on 2 things. 5 good runs, and those 3 guys up at the front, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kurt Busch, and Jeff Gordon, having some problems too.
Well, do you fellas believe with some of the riders that it's a 3-horse race?
If the racing god doesn't kind of intervene a little bit, yes. But if these guys have any kind of trouble at all out of the top 3, it's going to bring everybody else right back in this picture, and it could kind of motivate these teams to get back after it.
But I've said all along, Mike, I think one of those teams, maybe all 3 of them, but I've said all along, I think there will be 1 or 2 teams. They may be like Jeff Gordon. They may not even win a race in these 10 races, but no DNFs, no mechanical failures, and no problems like you saw Mark Martin get caught up in at Lowe's.
Or like Darrell said when this all began, you finish 7th every week, you win it.
That's the deal.
That's about it. And for Matt Kenseth, he's not going to be real happy with that little result right there. He slowed down from what he practiced at earlier.
He is the slowest of the regulars, 7th. Now, coming up right after us, we go to Memphis, where Isaac Hayes is the Grand Marshal or something like that.
And you know who's going to be racing over in Memphis this year, or this race in the Busch Series?
Elvis.
And Bill Elliott with Elvis on the hood.
That's what I meant.
Okay. Bill Elliott making a very rare Busch Series appearance.
Yeah, what, 1994 or something was his last
10 years, exactly.
Yes. Well, that's about how often we see Elvis. No disrespect intended, Elvis fans.
Blue suede shoes, that's what you're trying to tell me, Mark?
Trying to tell you that the Rocket is on track. 2nd in practice, Ryan Newman.
And I'm all shook up.
Do not adjust your set, folks.
That's right.
He's trying to substitute for DW.
I wouldn't dare do that. Don't put me in that category, please.
Again, he's just taken the green flag here now.
And he was green light coming to the flag.
But you see right there how slow these cars get in the corner, almost down to 60 miles per hour in the middle of the corner.
What the pace chase showed us, he eased it into the corner to get back on the throttle early. Oh, yeah.
This is going to be maybe in the 50s, looks like. 1950s, let's see it.
Survey says
1951, almost in the 40s. That breaks the old track record by 3.5 tenths, and that was on lap 1. We've seen a lot of cars pick up on lap 2, but right now it looks like this lap may possibly be a little slower. There's a lot of people would have taken that second lap, though, 1972.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah,
he was so smooth on that first lap.
Yeah, his second lap would be 5th fastest right now. But the first one, just blew away the track record now by 3.5 tenths of a second.
31 races this year. This probably will be 32 with now 22 top 10 starts for this team.
So basically the gauntlet's been thrown down one more time.
That's what it appears.
And Larry, I think you and I both know that we talk about going out early, the pluses and minuses. This can be a plus. If you can put down a time like this and tell everybody, now come get me, now you force some of these guys maybe basically overdrive the car, maybe do something they didn't really want to do, trying to beat you, and it can work in your advantage.
Exactly right.
Brendan Gaughan of Las Vegas, the Kodak Jasper Engines Dodge, has the best finish of any rookie candidate in the last 4 races and has moved into second in Rookie of the Year standings.
Brennan was 27th quickest in practice. Had a pretty good run here in the spring. His first Nextel Cup start here, qualified 11th, finished on the lead lap.
17th.
Right now we got a green light coming up off of turn 2, and that's a brand new Penske car he's driving right now. And I know Brendan was pretty pumped up when I talked to him earlier in the garage area. Now if we just get her through 3 and 4.
What he's doing though, Jeff, on the entrance of both corners, into 1, into 3, you saw this number right here really get low, but he really paid the price on the exit of the corner. 1979, 6th quickest on his first lap.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
He knew that one was not going to be any better.
But he was 2 tenths, almost 2 tenths quicker than what he practiced, so he's going to be pretty happy with that.
So Brendan Gaughan is 1, then no fun. It's going to put him 6th in the order at a 1979. Ryan Newman is quickest so far. Yeah, big surprise. Mike Garvey has 4 ASA wins this season. He's trying to make his first Cup start, and the Janet King Dodge is going to come up short at 20.25. Had a little trouble getting off the corner with the wheels not spinning. So Garvey has no provisionals available and is likely headed to the house. Here's Matt.
Ryan Newman always seems to set the benchmark in qualifying. You broke Tony Stewart's record by 3.5 tenths. You think that'll hold?
I think it might hold. You know, it's definitely a good lap for us. We were second quicker there in practice, but good run for the Autel Dodge. Wherever it ends up, I think it'll be in the top 5 for sure, or hopefully top 5. And I don't think the weather has much to do with it, but anybody that's watching, I think the track's going to fall apart.
Well, looking over our shoulder, we do see, look over your shoulder, you see a lot of rubber already, marbles up on the outer groove. How is that going to play, you know, practice tomorrow and the race on Sunday?
I think the race on Sunday is the biggest thing. I mean, we want to have 2 grooves to work with for sure, and just to keep the track clean is going to be a big thing. And you know, once you get cars running side by side, that'll probably help. Everybody's running down the bottom right now for qualifying, and we'll just have to see what it's like. They did a great job resurfacing this racetrack, I will say that.
Last 2 stops here in Martinsville, 2 5th-place finishes. Mike?
Well, anytime you have a new racing surface, you're going to get some abrasion from a little bit of roughness early on, and that means rubber marbles up top and concrete dust as well. So they're going to have a look at it. We'll take this break. One of the best bargains in racing and a well-known delicacy, the Jesse Jones hot dog served here at Martinsville Speedway. The ladies that work the concession stands cut all the onions. They make them to order. They put the stuff on them. They wrap them up, and for $2, it is a gastric delight. They're going to sell 52,000 of them over the weekend.
And they will sell you Alka-Seltzer to go along with it.
No.
No, Marty. and I've already had some. Marty, what do you think?
I was going to get a tally of the booth. How many have you had, Hammond?
I've had 3.
Okay. Mike?
I'm going to get one as soon as we're done.
Oh, you haven't had one yet?
No.
I know Larry Max had one.
I've had 2.
Okay, very good. My first one is on the way, so I'm excited about that.
All right.
Scott Riggs, however, does not get to have a hot dog because he's got to go out and qualify. See, the mark's been set pretty high by Ryan Newman. Can he beat a 51?
Man, that's tough. Ryan, those guys always do a good job when it comes to qualifying time, and I hope so. All these guys in this Valvoline Chevrolet have done a good job and gave me a good car. We came up here and tested a couple weeks ago, and I like the new track. The car was good. Got a pretty good lap in practice there, and it put us up, you know, close to the top of the board. Just got to get some heat in these tires first couple laps and try to get a good lap down that last one.
Same thing Ryan Newman said. Get those heat in the tires. They've been qualifying awfully well, the 10 team has lately. Matt?
Now, Jesse Jones hot dogs, big tradition here at Martinsville, but Brendan Gaughan, you've got a different tradition. Tell me about it.
Well, I thought you meant not running very well at Martin.
No, not that. We'll forget about that.
No, you know, Coach Wells at the Martinsville High School basketball team, they always invite me to come to a little scrimmage with them each year. And the kids this year let me go down yesterday and run a few games, and had to show them a little bit of old Georgetown stuff, but they're still making fun of the white boy that can't get his feet off the ground on his jumper.
Now, the biggest question, were you helped out of the arena, or were you able to walk out of your own power?
See, your cameras weren't there, so I can say I made it out fine, and I'm still fighting fine. I'm walking, right? You can't tell.
Jason, said you had to be helped out.
Brendan Gaughan played college basketball for Georgetown. Here is Brian Vickers, who is coming off a tough weekend at Charlotte, and Larry, a very, very hard hit.
Yeah, it was probably one of the hardest licks I've seen at Lowe's in a long time. He's not going to be very happy with that first lap, 20:39, but he was only 38th quickest in practice, and we didn't mention, I don't think, we have 50 cars here. So you're going to have to beat 12 to be in that top 38, which means also 7 cars will go home.
Brian falls short of the 22nd mark. He is probably a little stiff and sore, and this is no place to be after you've had a hit like this one at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
It's a little sideways and it loses control and hits that. Oh, I mean, that is a hard impact in the safer barriers right on almost the front straightaway at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
What happened to Vickers was not so much a result of just hitting the safer barrier, but these barriers are assembled in sections, and where he made impact was just before a joint where a new section started, and it was that new section that caught the nose of his Chevy and sent it spinning around with those results.
But I'm so thankful that safer barriers were in place. We now have safer barriers here at Martinsville. I think we're down to only 2 tracks now that do not have the safer barriers, and that would be Dover and Bristol. We know they certainly are working on them, though.
And they should have them before they run another Nextel Cup race at either facility.
Brian ends up 10th quickest, though, at a 20:08. That's probably has possibly provisional road on it.
Ryan McGlynn trying to make his first Nextel Cup start. He's in the Buyer's Choice Chevrolet. 3 truck races here, but he's one of 5 drivers in the field who are attempting to make their first voyage in a Nextel Cup race.
He was only 49th quickest in practice earlier. And right now we have 12 cars that have qualified. Of those 12, 9 cars running the 19-second bracket.
Ryan from one of those great racing towns, Shinny, Pennsylvania.
Easy for you to say.
Not hardly. It's like, who's that? I think it's Johnny Brazier. Boy, fell in the Southeast Series from Lickskillet, Alabama.
I've heard of Lickskillet.
Yeah, well, certainly. Yes, you would have.
You know, the thing that amazed me about coming into this race, I talked about 50 cars being here, is about half of the field of cars came up here and tested. And I think there's several reasons. One, we have the new surface we talked about, and you heard Rusty Wallace talking about how the setup and the packages changed. But to me, the guys, this is the big wild card race in these final 5 races. This is the final short track race of 2004.
A lot of unknowns right now, Larry. A lot of unknowns.
Ryan McGlynn is slowest at a 66 of the 13 drivers who have gone thus far. Rusty Wallace set to go next in the Miller Lite Dodge. Martinsville, one of his favorite places. He came from 17th to get his 55th career Cup win right here in the spring. With the Polish victory lap honoring Alan Kowicki and others of our fallen heroes, and then jumped out to a hero's welcome.
And I think that was a very, very popular win with everyone, the fans, the competitors. I don't think anyone begrudged Rusty Wallace. You see right there, 41 starts here. When you look at the records of Martinsville, you see Rusty Wallace's name by most all of them. 7 wins, 16 top 5s, and 22 top 10 finishes in those 41 starts.
And 3 poles so far.
We've been talking about Lowe's a lot. We had Rusty on our trackside show, and we knew he had a good race car, and he did have a good race car last Saturday night, and unfortunately got caught up in someone else's mishap.
It was one of those deals where the spotter said go low, and that was the only lane open, and it closed up just as he got there. trying to miss the wreck.
Now, the one thing Rusty has working for him is, remember, all of his 3 teammates, Ryan Newman, Brendan Gaughan, and Travis Quaffle, who is actually his teammate, went a little earlier so they could at least get feedback from those teams, maybe as far as air pressure adjustments.
And I want to ask you about that, Jeff, because all the testing that was done in warm weather conditions. This is the coldest day we've had all month here in Martinsville, Virginia, so things have to be different.
A lot different, Mike, and we keep looking at this racetrack. It was nice, bright white, basically, when we got here this morning. So as the rubber goes down on the racetrack, that's going to affect how things go. And look at Rusty Wallace. He picks it up to second fastest. I mean, right there, right behind his teammate, Ryan Newman. Good lap for Rusty.
Yeah, we have 3 Penske cars in the top 4 right now.
Well, let's meet the man who has owned the pole here of late. Here's Marty.
And that would be Jeff Gordon, who was 17th fastest in practice this morning. But there's one guy who can knock Ryan Newman off. It's you. Do you have 4/10 in this 24 car to knock Newman off?
I certainly hope so. You know, we didn't get our best lap out there in practice. It was kind of hectic out there. And, you know, some of the things that we found out in testing, you know, track's changed a little bit since then. So I feel really good about what Robbie and the guys done to the DuPont Chevrolet. We just have to see what kind of lap we can get, man. I tell you what, Ryan put up one heck of a lap. It's going to be tough to beat that one.
Hey, Mike, you said he owned the pole. I'll say he has 3 straight Martinsville poles, going for number 4 today.
Thanks, Marty. Jeff Green in the Cheerios, number 43 of the Petties, former Busch Series champ. 5 top 10 qualifying efforts this season with a best of 3rd.
I talked to Greg Stedman, his crew chief, a little earlier. I know they were another one of the teams that came up here and tested and was awfully pleased with their test. See right there, he looks pretty good about halfway down the backstretch. He lost a little ground about midway down the backstretch.
Car looks pretty good up off the corner.
Guess it'd be a toss-up whether this or Lowe's Motor Speedway would be home track for the Petties. Richard certainly has won enough here to claim it as a home track.
I was getting ready to say he pretty much has staked his own little nameplate right up here outside this place. He knows how to get around here.
Another car, though, that first lap in the 70s.
So he is the 11th driver to break the track record in qualifying today. Second lap is just fractionally slower. Let's meet the man who's second, Matt.
Rusty, about 1/10.5 off your teammate. Pleased with that lap?
I'm pretty pleased with it. I ran like a 78 in practice, and I just qualified a 67 on my first lap. Man, I was out of control. I was loose and sliding all over, and I said, boy, I got to pick it up this second lap, and got a 67. Went from a 92 to 67, so it was a pretty good pickup. We're second now, so, you know, if I can stay up in the top 10 or something like that, or a little farther up, that'd be great.
Now, a unique format here where you get a warm-up lap. What do you do as a driver to get your tires where you want them and everything else with the car?
Well, thank gosh for that warm-up lap, because the track was so short and it's cold out here today. You really do need to heat the tires. So I ran about I'd have to say I ran about a 3/4 lap the first lap, you know, the get-go lap, and then when the green flag dropped, I really hammered down on it, got it loose and won, locked the brakes up, and then recovered on the second lap.
Thanks, Rusty.
Rusty Wallace, second quickest. If there's one driver here who can run it sideways all the way around this place, it would be Robbie Gordon in his singular Chevy.
Yeah, and Robbie, early this morning, Mike, he dodged a big bullet right as the track opened. The 31 car went down into turn 3, and I was happy to be standing down in that part of the racetrack. I heard a big plunk, plunk, and I didn't know what was going on. And undoubtedly, the bolt came out of the lead box on the front of the frame, and the tungsten came flying out of this race car, and Robbie just about ran over a piece of it and almost got in the wall. So very scary moment right there, early part of practice for him and his team.
That would have been big. That would have been big time if he'd have ran over.
2024, disappointing first lap for the Childress Chevy.
But Mike, we've seen this guy qualify a lot of times.
What am I thinking?
Don't talk about the first lap.
What am I thinking?
I don't believe this is going to be a whole lot better, guys. This may actually be worse than that first lap, though.
Last 3 weeks, he's used the first lap as a throwaway lap, and then the money lap is the second lap. It is better, Larry, but only by 1/10. So Robbie Gordon right now will be 13th. Marty?
Mike, here in April, Bobby Labonte finished second to Rusty Wallace. How's the car today, Bobby?
It's not too bad. You know, obviously we got a new racetrack here in comparison to then, so but it's been pretty good. The Interstate Battery Chevrolet's been, you know, fairly comfortable. So you know, we'll see what we got. We got limited practice, but hopefully get us a good qualifying run in here.
They literally just sprinted the 18 car out here. The one thing Bobby said, wow, that lap by Newman was fast.
That's what we all said. Mark Martin, who first came here in 1981, driving a 02 Pontiac for, was it Bob Rogers, car dealer from down in South Carolina, that he drove when he first came to Cup?
Pat Rogers.
Pat Rogers,
yeah.
Excuse me.
The Apache Stove car who was sponsored.
Yep. And after 2.5 seasons, Mark was away for 4 years and came back with Jack Roush in 1988. He's been behind the wheel of this number 6 ever since, with a couple of strong shots to win a championship, and a lot of longtime fans hoping that the wreck last week at Lowe's Motor Speedway did not knock Mark from a shot at this championship. He's 5th in points.
But if he wants to have a shot at winning this championship, he's got to definitely turn it around, because the last 3 races up here for Mark have not really been that stellar, because he's been 17th, 14th, and 34th. So he's going to definitely have to pick it up here come Sunday if he wants to have a shot to get back up in the steel.
What's deceiving about that finish in the spring, he had a good top 5 car and had that fuel line issue about midway point of the race.
First lap, not bad. It's in the 19s. He becomes the 12th driver to break 20 seconds at a 1997. And let me correct, 9 drivers have broken the track record so far. Mark's second lap, same as the first. So he's 10th fastest. I don't know if it's the bright red color or just the taste or the fact that you're at the Speedway that makes those hot dogs taste so good. But would you send some up, please? I'm getting hungry up here.
Hard to believe that's good, though. Woo.
Craftsman Truck Series racer Chad Chaffin this week behind the wheel of the Mach 1 Racing Ford, and he clocks in 15th out of 18 so far at a 2015. Marty?
Mike, I have found the 2 guys who do not eat hot dogs at Martinsville. Now, Elliott Sadler, why do you not eat Martinsville hot dogs again?
Because they're red, and I don't eat hot dogs that are that color red, and they also turn the hot dog bun red. So that's why I don't eat them. I don't know. Michael has a different philosophy.
Okay, I got to hear this.
I used to come here and get one when I walked in, so I wouldn't have the urge to get one all weekend long. But I'm even over that now. They look disgusting to me, so I pass.
Subway's a little better for you, isn't it?
I don't know what you said. I have no idea.
And Subway's a little better for you, isn't it?
I like Domino's pizza. When I want a snack, I do Domino's.
Good point. Good point. Very good sponsor plug. And,
you know, when you're at the ballpark, though, you got to eat hot dogs.
Exactly right. So how's your race car?
Yeah, it's decent. We got an awesome motor in it. I just got to figure out how to get it hooked up now off the corner. And Michael and I have made we figured out a great analogy. The better you look, you got to slow down to look good. We've been standing here watching all the guys. The guy that runs slower on the board actually looked really good and smooth through here, so we don't really know what we want to do yet for qualifying.
That's what we said about Ryan Newman's lap. Looked really smooth.
Rusty's car did too. That thing was really down on the left front. Cutting through this corner good. Those are a couple guys that were fast and looking good, but it's really difficult to get a good lap here at Martinsville without overshooting the turn. You're just that close to being out of control when you're qualifying here, so hopefully we made some adjustments to the Napa Chevy. Elliott just gave me some good news. Buffy wanted a deer head to put in the pull house, and he said he shot one and mounted it, so I'm going to get me a deer.
I brought it to him this weekend. I'm going to put it in his bus for him so he can take it back to his house, put it in his pool room.
All right, we've learned a lot of information. I'm not sure any of it's useful, but we've learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have video of that. Bobby Labonte ran 2 laps, both of which were good for 10th place in the Interstate Battery Chevy. 1981 was the quicker of the 2.
And Bobby's going to be competing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race here tomorrow in Speed.
Speaking of Sadlers, here's the older one of the 2 brothers, Hermie Sadler, down here in Emporia, Virginia.
Trying to make his 13th start of 2004. He's also run 4 Busch and 1 Craftsman truck race here at Martinsville.
He was 37th quickest in practice earlier today. Didn't quite get in the show last weekend at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Hermie's had a few good qualifying efforts up here at Martinsville and had run pretty good at times during the race. So be interesting to see what he can put together here.
This looks pretty good.
Just thinking back to Elliott Sadler's interview, that seems to be the pretty common comment by all the Ford drivers, that we have an awesome motor under the hood of our car. Those Roush cars, those Yates cars. .2003 on his first lap. He's beat 6 cars, so he's halfway to those 12 that he has to beat.
He's good down to the middle of the corner. car just doesn't come up off the corner quite as well as he'd like. Second lap's going to be right on top of the first, so Hermie Sadler is 14th. Looking for 4 straight poles is Jeff Gordon and the Hendrick Motorsports team. Last year in the spring, dodging Kurt Busch. And on to the checkered flag. October, different sunset, same result. The season sweep at Martinsville for Jeff Gordon.
I mean, he has 23 starts here. His record is phenomenal, but the thing that to me is the most phenomenal about those 23 starts, it's hard to accomplish here when you think about getting caught up in a wreck, you think about brakes, all the mechanical failure, no DNFs at this place.
23 starts, Larry, and only 6 of them out of the top 10.
But, you know, we talked about him, Jeff, being not that good in practice. To me, if you watch this team for the last month, they have only had 1 top 20 start, and that was when they qualified 5th at Talladega. They have not been on their mark lately qualifying. See right here, only about 12th quickest, 12th, 13th quickest on this first lap. He's barely going to be in the 19s on this first lap. May not be in the 19s. 20 flat, 20.003.
14th fastest for Gordon. That would be his worst start here since his rookie season.
Guys, it's coming back
here
down.
He comes.
He's gaining a little bit.
He made up a lot of ground getting in the corner. He lost a little bit coming off, but this is definitely going to be better on this second lap for Jeff.
9th, 1979. And he is now the 11th driver to break the old track record.
But you better believe that was not the lap they were looking for.
Marty?
I'm just going to let Jeremy Mayfield talk because he wants to talk about his owner, Ray Evernham. What did you want to say about him?
Well, he's a great guy, you know, done a great job. I think we need to go talk to Ray because he's done an outstanding job here being owner and provides us great equipment, good cars and all that stuff. And hopefully he'll watch this, you know, we'll be in good shape here.
What are the Dodge keys to success at Martinsville? 9th fastest in practice for you, pretty good.
Ray Evernham, that's keys right there, right?
Well, at Kansas, it was you.
Well, we're back and forth right now. We're not sure what it is, but no, our Dodge is running really good here. This is probably the best we've been here in a long time, and hopefully we won't make any mistakes and we'll have a good starting spot here and get a good run in. But everything's going good. I mean, just sound like a broken record, but just need some luck and we'll be in good shape here.
And hopefully this week everybody around Jeremy plays nicely and nothing happens to the 19 car.
And Ray announced this past week that he now has sponsorship for Bill Elliott in 2005 for about 3 to 6 races, looking for sponsorship for about 10 to 12, and definitely probably will be a full-time 3-car operation in 2006.
Right, he has Stanley Tools has come on board to sponsor Elliott next season in Nextel Cup.
I was up by their shop up near the Statesville Airport the other day and noticed that they're building a new building. I want to go back to Jeff Gordon. He qualified, 9th so far to 1979. But think about it like this, guys. Last year he set on the pole at a 2022. When you pick up that much speed and you're still 9th. So, I mean, a lot of people right now have done their homework and they realize right now if you want to beat Jeff Gordon as far as the victories here, you got to get in front of him at least when it comes time to qualifying.
You heard him say he was another one of the teams that came up here and tested.
See what Kyle Petty can do with the Brawny Dodge. 19th on his first lap with a 2018. He's going to pick it up here on lap 2 and move to 15 with a 1998.
That's 15 cars now that has ran in the 19s. You talked about his pole speed last year was a 2022.
So far all these guys here would have, with the exception of maybe about one person, would have beat that time so far.
This will be Kyle's 48th Cup Series start at Martinsville, 24 years. Todd Bodine should be the next car to go. They were on the clock, a little late getting through inspection with the Arnold Development Dodge.
And possibly one thing that threw this team a curve, remember this is the same team basically that's handling the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series venture for Todd, and they just had their final practice, so they may have been a little short-handed on the Nextel Cup car.
and this team may have a factory deal for the Truck Series for next year, as Todd has broken out big in the win column.
I'm getting ready to say they better have.
If they don't, who deserves one, right?
Ready to say if they don't, who does? I mean, that's they've done an outstanding job coming out there and jumping on board with Toyota and getting 2 wins now. I mean, they just be interested to go for 3 in a row.
Todd was only 41st quickest in practice earlier.
But all 3 Bodine brothers have had great success here at Martinsville. Oldest brother Jeff has won here in modifieds, in the Busch Series, and in Cup.
This is not going to be a very good first lap for Todd.
Larry, just watching that car go around the racetrack, to me, the attitude of this race car doesn't look very good. It's kind of picking the left front up off the corner, heeling back over what I call on the right rear a little too much to really make, I think, the car go through the corner like it should.
20.52 on that first lap, and this one don't look a whole lot better.
It got a little loose up off the corner then.
He picks up a 10th, but that is not going to move him up the board. Marty?
Mike Carl Edwards actually driving his truck and his Cup car in the same city this week. So is that going to confuse you not to be on an airplane this week?
Yeah, that's okay. The airplanes are fun, but it's going to be neat to be able to relax a little bit and focus on this one racetrack here. And I'm having a blast. You know, we've got our Super Chips truck running really well. I think it might be a little faster in our car right now. So we'll get the car dialed in, though, and I'm pretty excited. I love this place.
Carl was 16th fastest in the morning practice.
Next, Marty, we'll see how he fares.
Yeah, the Truck Series has 4 races to go, including here tomorrow at Martinsville, and all of them are companion events now with the Nextel Cup Series.
Kenny Schrader, the Schwann's Home Service Dodge, first came here in 1985 for Junie Donlevy. Started 22nd, finished 16th. He's had a couple of second-row starts here for Rick Hendrick and an outside pole start here in the spring race of 03 for this BAM racing team.
His teammate, Klaus Graf, has already attempted to qualify, probably not going to make the race. And I asked Klaus, I said, well, who's been giving you advice for this racetrack? He said, well, the best advice, I think, has come from my teammate, Kenny Schrader. He said, mainly, if you make the race on Sunday, don't count the laps. Just keep driving. Just keep racing laps. This is a long race on Sunday.
Might be a little easier now that the Nextel scoreboard is in the center of the infield. It's not as easy to see as when they had the old Pepsi scoreboard down that you looked at all the way down the backstretch going into turn 3 with that lap counter up there.
Pretty good first lap for Kenny, yeah. 12th quickest, 1990.
You know, Kenny is just kind of like a consummate racer. Last weekend I was up in Knoxville, Iowa for one of the Extreme Dirt Car Series that Stacker 2 sponsors, and I didn't realize that Kenny Schrader is involved with that series right there. He loves racing, and he still stays 12th as he finishes his qualifying effort.
Two weeks in a row, Scott Riggs puts a big number up on the board. The Valvoline Chevy on its second lap has timed in 5th.
This team just keeps getting better and better. I know they are one of the race teams that's looking very forward to 2005.
Marty with our point leader.
Talking about teams that are getting better and better. Kurt Busch's team had a great week at the Lowe's Motor Speedway last week. This is Martinsville, though. This is the one of the 5 races that is left that you're worried about, Kurt.
Yeah, it is, but we came and tested and did the best we could. And during testing, I joked with Fenning. I said, what year were you born? He said, 1953. I said, that's about what the pole's going to be. So if we can go run a 61, then that means he's 43 years old.
Very good. It's always good when you take age off the crew chief. Right, Larry Mack?
You got it.
Ricky Rudd, fastest man in practice for the hometown team, the Wood Brothers, from nearby Stewart, Virginia. For many, many years, the Wood Brothers would run all the super speedway races and only one short track.
It's not going to be a very good lap. This lap here, the car got real loose. It looked like maybe when he got out of the throttle and got on the brake, getting into turn 1. Right here, what he's trying to do, he got up in those marbles and picked up a lot of trash on the tires. He's trying to get them cleaned off.
Just goes to show how important it is to get heat in these tires right now.
So he's banking on this second lap as he completes lap 1.
So it's got to stick here.
Looks pretty good.
I'd say it's stuck.
But it's the field is so tight. That's the reason you see this number here change so fast. going to end up being a pretty good lap. Not what they were looking for, but considering what lap 1 looked like, not too bad. 1977, 7th quickest, another car in the 70s.
And he is the fastest Ford so far by a full 0.2 of a second.
All right, we always like continuing stories. Michael Fatback McSwain, who was released from Joe Gibbs Racing about midway of the year. Fatback is a fair man. The Redskins won last week. They beat Chicago. Fatback has his Redskin hat on this week.
Glad to hear that.
Wonder who the Redskins play this week.
Well, it's not the Bears. That was last week. Seen any Red Sox hats down in the garage area?
I just hope they don't play the Panthers no time soon.
I don't think the Red Sox will, but I know you mean the Redskins. All right, so Ricky Rudd, nice save on the second lap to end up 7th.
This is the first time he's had to wear a Redskins hat in a month.
Okay. You know, I'll bet if he'd sign all these hats and put them on eBay, he could raise a lot of money for, say, Motor Racing Outreach, Victory Junction Gang Camp. What do you think?
I think I'll put that idea in his head.
Or for Fatback.
I bet Fatback's had a hot dog or two.
Upper left of your screen, Ricky Rudd telling the media all about it. Upper center of your screen, Fatback kind of laughing about it because the car came back in one piece. They're in the top 10, so all in all, not a bad day.
And we're going to see right here what happens. What happens, these guys, they crank a lot of rear brake in the car here. You see the minute he turns off in the corner, gets on the brake, the car gets loose. That's indication maybe he had a little too much rear brake in the car, Jeff.
I think so, Larry. When he got down in there, he realized if he didn't get off the brake, kind of chase it up, he was going to spin the car out. And when he do that, he knew he'd probably wreck it. So I think he did an excellent job of saving it.
And no hat for Fatback this week. The Redskins are off.
Maybe he'll wear a Cardinal or a Red Sox hat. What do you
we'll
think?
see.
Well, maybe he'll wear the 21 hat.
Maybe we'll go to Marty.
Maybe that means he has to wear the Redskins hat 2 weeks in a row, right? I don't know. Anyway, I tried to sell that one. Casey Kane, tough place for a rookie, and we were just talking about that.
Yeah, it is. I need to test here more or something. It's a tough racetrack for us, but hopefully it'll get better. We'll have a long race on Sunday, and we'll see. They just changed the whole car, so hopefully it'll be better than it was.
We never got the final diagnosis as to what happened last Saturday night with your race car. When you got it back to the shop, what happened?
Well, it had right front tire had blown apart. Not a camber issue or anything. It was the least worn tire on the car, so it's just something that happened, and it was disappointing, but you know, we'll try to win some other time.
Casey obviously had the dominant car last week at Lowe's, but did not finish.
Not the first time this season. Hopefully the last time that would happen. As Kevin Harvick is on track in the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. His car owner Richard Childress opened his new winery last week in Welcome, North Carolina, right off I-85 business.
And as a matter of fact, they had the Bill Francis, as the light goes green, to come off the turn 2 after Kevin Harvick drops back down. Went to the Bill Francis dinner last night down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and had some of Richard's wine. It was quite good.
Speaking of openings, tonight, Kevin Harvick has the grand opening of his new 50,000 square foot race shop in Kernersville, North Carolina, and Kevin's going to end up 14th quickest at a 1988.
Matt?
A solid qualifying effort by rookie Scott Riggs. You tested here, didn't run any qualifying stuff, all race stuff. How important was that for you, though, with this qualifying run?
Well, it was real important because we got the car pretty much dialed in pretty quick that first day, and just fine-tune on the track, on the car, and the track really was in good condition that day. Had a lot of cars here, a lot of rubber on the track, and really helped me with just finding my line, realizing how easy it is to overdrive the car, just trying to back my corner up, not overcharge the corner, and be smooth. And that helped a lot today in qualifying. We backed up what we did in practice, but I wish we could have did something to help the car, come around a little quicker. I don't know if we need up a little more on pressures or what, but it seemed like the last corner the tires really started hooking up good. So it'll be good for us to have a good finish in the Valvoline Chevrolet.
Qualified 13th here in the spring, hoping this time holds up for a top 10.
He's 5th right now. Dale Jarrett in the UPS Ford, who has probably had the strongest point run of any driver not in the championship chase over these last few races since Richmond.
But it definitely appears that the battle for that lucrative, and it is lucrative this year, $1 million, 11th place position seems to be between Dale Jarrett in the 88, Jamie McMurray in the 42.
And disadvantage Jarrett right now the way he's been running. Here in Martinsville, he's finished in 9 of the last 10 races in the top 11. And no race outside of 20th here since 1998.
Including a win. So he's pretty good at these short tracks.
Yeah, he somewhat struggled in practice a little bit earlier today. He was 36 quickest. His first lap is a 20:03, and he slows down quite a bit. Not the lap that group was looking for to UPS 4.
There's a couple of Bobby Hamiltons racing here this weekend. Marty's caught up with one of them.
I've caught up with the younger of them, Mike, who just got some advice from the senior of them. What did dear old Dad tell you about your first ever Cup start at Martinsville?
He was just telling me what they done on tire pressure. I never seen this place until this morning. And they just asked me what I'm going to run. I was like, Lord, I just hope I come back with the fenders on it. I ran some truck practice this morning, but really it doesn't even, all it does is get you used to the racetrack. So we're just going to go the way we were this morning and hopefully be the best with the Tide Chevrolet and just get us a spot and try to get 500 miles worth of experience Sunday.
Lamar, you can let them know that it's only 500 laps. It's not 500 miles here. It's just going to feel like 500 miles.
You got that right.
Dale Jarrett ended up 21st in the UPS Ford with a 20:03. Here is his Robert Yates Racing teammate, the M&M's Ford of Elliott Sadler. This is a home game for Elliott.
Home game for him. You know, a lot of times he's kidding everybody about the hot dogs, but you know that he's really big on bologna burgers from right up the road here. I think it's South Boston Speedway. He loves eating bologna burgers.
He holds the world's record for eating bologna burgers. Not sure I even want to know how many that is.
Elliott was 26 quickest in practice earlier, a lot like his teammate Dale Jarrett. I don't think he'll be very happy with this first lap anyhow. And you know, we talked about it being a three-man race. Now Elliott Sadler, the 38 team, they're fourth in points, but they're 157 points out. Remember, the most you can gain or lose in one event is 156, so he's right there on the borderline of being a full race behind.
And this is not a good racetrack for him. He's only had one top 10 finish in 11 races here.
But how many times this year have we said that about Elliott Sadler before this year?
I like putting the pressure on him, though. I want him to, and Todd Parrott to kind of rear up and get it done, and Elliott winds up 22nd.
Yeah, his 2 laps were only 100th of a second apart, but he could have used the big pickup. Another guy was fast in practice with Marty.
And that's Joe Nemechek, Mike. Talk about a team that's been doing a lot of things right lately. Joe, everything's going well for you guys, but how about qualifying today at Martinsville?
Well, I tell you what, the U.S. Army Chevy's running good. We unloaded pretty good. You know, the track's a lot cooler right now, so just trying to get that extra grip to get right through the bottom part of the corner and get a good drive off. I don't know if we can beat Ryan Newman. That was a pretty stout lap, but I think we're going to have a good run.
Joe, 6 fastest. Just curious, crew chief guys, when it does get cooler, does that really affect the concrete, though, in the corners?
And I mean, the biggest thing, and you've heard all the drivers talking about it, Marty, the cooler it gets, the harder it gets to hook those tires up. And in the race Sunday, if it stays this cool, these guys will run their fastest lap 20, 30 laps into the run when these tires really get some heat in them.
Jeremy Mayfield is 10th in the chase for the Nextel Cup. He's kind of dug himself a hole here. He's 349 points out of first, so it's guaranteed he'll be on stage at the Waldorf and trying to improve on 10th. He did start 10th here in the spring race. His best start here, spring of 01, was 6th.
But what's sad about this 19 car, 5 races in the first part of this chase, 3 wrecks, none of them of Jeremy Mayfield's making. Like last week at Lowe's, he got into someone else's oil.
Build your own cars, make your own parts. You can't make your own luck.
Wrong place, wrong time. 3 of the 5 races.
16th, 1991.
Another team that elected to come up here and test a few weeks ago. And the biggest thing they did in this resurfacing is they extended. This has always been concrete corners and asphalt straightaways. And one of the big challenges on that transition from the off the corner to the straightaway was going from the concrete to the asphalt. But now they have really extended the concrete well up onto the straightaway. Lots of grip in those rear tires.
And Larry, he picked up really good on his second lap, gone to 9th fastest at 1977. Another one of those cars in the 70s.
Matt, tell us about the wild ride of Ricky Rudd.
The fastest guy in practice. Everybody figured you'd be the guy to beat, Ricky. What happened?
Well, I guess it's called probably a little extra pressure, trying a little extra hard. You know, we ran a 68 in practice, and Newman put up a 50-something, and I needed just a little bit more for a pole, and went for it. I went for it, but the car didn't quite like it, and under brake, and the thing just jumped out from under me going into turn 3. And I guess real lucky to gather it up and save it, and got it gathered up. But then all the little loose marbles were stuck to the tires, and it sounded like I was going down a gravel road for a minute. And nothing was working out. I don't know how to say it, but it probably just, I got it started with overdriving a corner and paid the price. It's unfortunate. I had a very fast car, still have a fast car, and I guess that's the good thing about it is we're not rolling out a backup. But that back, everybody, they put a great Motorcraft Air Force Taurus under me this weekend, and so far I didn't do my job, but hopefully we'll get it done on Sunday.
Keep your eye on the 21 car for Sunday. Fatback and Ricky have had a lot of success here in the past, and this place owes them one.
Well, for a car that almost crashed on its first qualifying lap, Ricky had a nice comeback. He's presently 7th as Carl Edwards, star of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, comes out.
Guys, you remember, we got to talking about going out early, putting down a good time, sometimes what it can do to you. And Ricky Rudd just said, hey, he put down a lap, I tried to best it, and what happens? It got away from me.
Edwards 17th on his first lap, 1995. He is the 2nd fastest Ford to Ricky Rudd.
That's a good lap for Carl in that first lap. Good lap.
Now, Carl's a rookie. Surprisingly, he has a good bit more experience here than does Bobby Hamilton Jr. because Hamilton spent his formative years in the Busch Series, which hasn't raced here in some time, while Edwards has had some Truck Series starts here. So Carl ends up 17th.
See a lot of those guys, though, that were in practice in the Craftsman Truck Series a while ago running pretty good here in qualifying.
There's Marty.
Mike, here in April, the best car may not have won the race. Jimmie Johnson had an awfully good race car, and I'm sure you've been reliving those last 40 laps over in your head for a couple of months now, haven't you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that which car was the best car. I mean, the 9 obviously had a good night. We kept working on our stuff and made it better, but we've been in that situation before where we've led the most laps and couldn't take advantage of it. We've been lucky enough to do it a few times this year, and Saturday night was just a lot of hard work from this whole Lowe's team. We got the car right and, you know, ranked qualifying lap times at the end of that race, so that Lowe's Monte Carlo was pretty dang good.
He's talking about last Saturday night. We were talking about April when we ran here. Jimmie Johnson was leading late in the race, wound up finishing 4th after deciding not to pit late in the race.
All right, let's have a look at the point leader, Kurt Busch, in the Irwin Tools for Jack Roush.
He was 10th quickest earlier in practice, but this race team last week, they showed championship form. That car was in big trouble on lap 1 down there in turn 1 and 2, and they kept fighting back. They got the car repaired, stayed on the lead lap, and came back with another top 5 finish.
Now, he was green light until he left turn 2 on that lap.
It's going to be a good lap for Kurt.
It's a solid lap right here for these guys.
That's going to mean a lot for our championship points leader right now. On his first lap, he's going to be 7th quickest, 1971. He ran the exact speed as Jamie McMurray, so since the 97 is higher than the 42 in owner points, right now Kurt will be 6th, McMurray will be 7th. Maybe he can pick it up, though, on his second lap.
Not quite. It's off by 2/100ths. So Kurt Busch earns what right now is the 6th starting spot behind Newman, Wallace, Ward-Burton, Quaffle, and Riggs. Brad Teague has a Busch Series win here and 4 Cup starts, the most recent 1994, and that run of 2092 may send Teague to the house, back to Johnson City, Tennessee. It is likely not going to be fast enough to make the field for the Subway 500. Kasey Kahne came here in April for his first Cup start, started 15th, finished 21st, and wound up 32nd at Lowe's Motor Speedway after that cut tire after leading 207 of the first 267 laps. Truly a dominating performance, cut short. Not unlike what happened to him at Dover back in June, where he was leading the race, got in somebody's oil, and into the wall.
Yeah,
He's got to turn around.
There's no reason, you know, luck just turned a quarter of a turn of this race car. They would be sitting there with 4 or 5 wins this year. Kasey was 34th quickest in practice. You heard him talk in his interview about they completely changed the whole setup on this race car prior to qualifying. This is not going to be a very good lap, probably in the 2020s it looks like, possibly. 2019, 29th quickest for Kasey.
Did you hear what was going on there? Almost like what was going on with Ricky Rudd. I think he got in the corner a little too deep, hard on the brakes right there, and the car really looked like it was real, basically dancing, not in the racetrack at all.
The fellow who's going to like this lap is Kyle Petty, because Kane, being 29th, is going to lock Kyle into the top 38. Won't have to use a provisional, but Casey Kane might have to with a lap of 2019. A lot of racing action here at Martinsville, including the Craftsman Truck Series tomorrow and happy hour Saturday 11 a.m. Eastern Time right here on Speed. Every final practice and every qualifying session the rest of the way right here on Speed Channel.
Lots of consistency, and we will continue in those 5 weeks to follow the Fatback McSwain hat saga.
Fatback in the hat? I think Dr. Seuss has a trademark on that.
There you go.
We'll see. Bobby Hamilton Jr.
Let's see if he can bring it back with the fenders on it right now. Again, he got in the corner a little bit hot too. Had to get hard on the brakes.
He was 32nd quickest earlier in practice. This is just his warm-up lap. He comes off turn 4 this time. He'll be taking the green flag. It's Bobby Hamilton Jr. in this car for 2005, along with his Busch Series crew chief Harold Holley, who is actually over in Memphis with the 25 car this weekend with the Busch Series. So Mike Beam, who recently left this team, is supposed to be here at least on race day to help this team out this weekend at Martinsville.
And the fellow who likes this lap the most is Hermie Sadler, because Hermie is just on the bubble of making or not making the top 38. Whoa, green light. He really threw it in turn 1. 29th on his first lap.
And he got off that corner halfway decent right there. He had his hands full. He used all the racetrack, but he got her off the corner.
This lap's going to be a little bit better than that first lap, I do believe. Picks it up to a 13, which picks him up to 27th spot, but that will lock Hermie Sadler into the field for Sunday.
Marty?
Mike, we were going to do something with Scott Deal, because these guys on the 20 team have a tendency to steal electronic equipment. Tony Stewart stole a microphone earlier this year, and Scott Deal just stole one of our cameras and was walking around trying to shoot video with it. I don't think he has a second career. Are you all right? What are you stealing our equipment for?
Well, I don't think he's very good.
Okay, I agree. Yeah, okay.
So I just thought that maybe, you know, they needed some good more B-roll, so I just took over.
Very good, and you're turning into a TV guy now, right?
Yeah. Come on with me.
No. Don't take the microphone. Keep it away from you, okay?
Joe Nemechek on track, the U.S. Army Chevrolet, 6th fastest in practice. He has one pole here that he won for Felix Sabates in this race 5 years ago.
Well, what a roll this team has been on in the last 5 races. 2 Bud poles, 4 top 10 finishes, including that win in Kansas. Their performance, I think, has been the same all year. They just finally have had good luck to go with those good performances over the last month. His first lap's going to be off for Joe in this 01 car, though. 23rd quickest at a 1999, so that's 23 cars that is running the 19-second bracket.
When you're saying it's off, you're talking about off by Joe Nemechek standards.
Yeah, I mean, right now, when you look, Ward Burton is 3rd at a 1970. Joe Nemechek, at least on that first lap, and that'll be his best lap, is 1999. He's 23rd.
Yeah, he's going to make the top 38, but not by much. And got to stick up for my buddy Brad Hutton for GOAT down on pit road, our cameraman down there. He toted that camera for 15 straight hours at the Barrett-Jackson auction back in Scottsdale, and it had a great time and just gave us great shots. He's a hard-working guy, but GOAT, it's kind of like being in the Army. You don't ever really let anybody take your gun or your camera.
And I challenge anyone to come up with better cameramen than we have on our Speed Channel coverage, our coverage in the first half on Fox, and the second half on TNT and NBC. Give us those great shots throughout practice, qualifying, and, of course, the race.
Terry Labonte in the Kellogg's number 5 has been racing here in Martinsville since, yes, it was paved then, 1978.
52 races to be exact, Mike, and you know, Terry's going to be throttling back next year, but out of all the active drivers, he leads everybody with 27 top 10 finishes in races at Martinsville. So I think that's pretty phenomenal. He's pretty good here.
He's got 1 pole and 3 second-place finishes.
Still hunting that first win at Martinsville. 19.986 on his first lap. We're about to the point where we have to give you that 3rd number now because these cars are so tightly bunched together. And Mike, you talked about they've been racing here since 1947. This is the very last racetrack that was on the original schedule back in 1949 that we're racing on today.
So Terry Labonte, 23rd. After that run, Ryan Newman and Rusty Wallace are quickest, but it's not over yet. Mario Gosselin from out of the All-Pro Series, now the AutoZone Elite Southeast Series, and Hooters Pro Cup times in 36th, and at number 84, and that will not make the top 38. Will probably be a going homer as Shelburne, Vermont, Kevin LePage, number 37 Dodge, comes out. He has 14 starts in 2004, 3 of them for this team.
Had a good qualifying run at Lowe's last week. Kevin was only 48th quickest earlier in practice. His first lap will be 20.65. That will bump Brad Teague out of the top 38. It will probably bump him to the house.
And LePage is pretty close to go or go home, the way they stand on the owner's points list. Second lap is a nice pickup on the watch, but he is still 37th. Marty?
Mike, if there's one man who can knock off Ryan Newman, it might just be Tony Stewart, who was 5th fastest in practice. You have a shot to beat Newman?
I don't know. We had pretty good runs in qualifying practice, but we'll wait and see. You know, Zippy and the Home Depot team, we came here and tested like a bunch of guys did just to see what this surface is going to be like. We like it. We think they did an awesome job here with this facility. They've really been proactive instead of reactive here for sure in making changes. So we'll just have to wait and see what we can do today.
Your car chief, Scott Deal, swiped one of our cameras earlier and was trying his hand at that again. He's done that before, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been apt to swipe a lot of things to try things out, so you really can't control him. It's like him and Shapiro. There are 2 bulls in the china shop.
All right, very good. Tony with a good shot to knock Ryan Newman off the pole, 5th fastest in the earlier practice.
Jimmy Johnson has only 2 starts this year, worse than 19th. He has not yet used a provisional start this year. One last week after leading 35 laps. And the last time we were here, he started 8th.
It's like not really any of the Hendrick cars have been very good here today. You know, right now, Jeff Gordon is 13th, Terry Labonte's 23rd, and Brian Vickers is 28th. See what Jimmy on his first lap, pretty good first lap, 16th quickest out of 1986. So if he could pick it up, you hear him all into that rev limiter at the end of both straightaways.
He was quick to the throttle in turn 2, and you saw the light go green for a moment.
I believe this lap's going to be about the same.
Within 100th. So Jimmy Johnson 16th. Last week, the Lowe's car got to do donuts at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Didn't quite do it in the domination fashion that he did in May, but he was there when it counted, and that's the first team to sweep the races at Lowe's since Dale Earnhardt did it in 1986. And did that team ever need that? Because they had 2 DNFs in a row, so they definitely needed that win last week to get their momentum back on track.
Even though it only picked Johnson up to 8th in points, he's still 227 out of the lead.
But again, a win kind of like gets things going the right way. As we take a look here, the guy had a good run going last week at Charlotte, got caught up in that mishap with Brendan Gaughan, Mark Martin, and Ryan Newman. Jimmy Spencer's on the track.
This is one of the tracks where Spencer came to national prominence. He's been racing here since the early 80s in the modifieds and since 1990 in a Cup car.
Since you mentioned the modified, can you imagine what they do with this new surface as smooth as it is? Woo. I mean, they would blister this place.
Love to see it.
He's another, though, version of that drive the car in so deep that you really cannot even think about getting back in the throttle, get it off the corner, and this is not going to be a very good lap. In fact, it's the slowest of the 41 cars, at least in lap 1.
He was high up in the corner a minute ago. Then he cut it in so low he got up on a curve some. So he really needs to slow down to hit his marks and try to pick it up.
It took him about half a lap to get those tires cleaned back off again, and he almost offed our camera.
Did you see that slide job?
It was quite a bit quicker, but it's only good for 2 spots near the bottom run. 20:55 for Jimmy Spencer. Matt?
16th quick Jimmy Johnson coming off a big win last week. Describe your qualifying run, Jimmy.
The qualifying lap was pretty smooth. We had a loose condition in practice. We're trying to get through, and wow, 4 cars here. And
that's what a lot of people say.
we tightened the car up, and the car drove good. Maybe just a little too tight, a little too comfortable. But you know, we came up and tested. Things went a little different for us and the 24. Neither one of us were where we thought we were going to be. But it's a long race on Sunday afternoon, and we should be in good shape then.
Led 103 laps here in April, and Mike, I would be remiss if I didn't say that Brad Hutton had to build an extra shell for all of his Emmys that he has won through the years.
I'm not surprised. Greg Biffle, the Subway National Guard Ford. He was on the pole for the 98 Craftsman Truck Series race here. This is his 4th Martinsville Cup start.
Saw Greg a lot like Jimmy Spencer. He was first and second all the way down to the middle of turn 1 and 2, and there you see by the time he gets into turn 3, he's 36th, 37th quickest. Not a very good first lap for Greg Biffle in the 16 car.
And Larry, that's just something that's so easy to do here. You see a lot of guys, veterans, have problems with it. Rookies have problems with this racetrack. You've got to discipline yourself not to overdrive the interest of these corners.
Only 2 Fords in the top 10 right now. The Roush car, one Roush car, Kurt Busch and the Wood brothers. Only 2 Chevys in the top 10. Haas Automation and Valvoline. So very interesting Dodge-dominated qualifying.
What a pickup for Greg Biffle, though. He picks up over 3/10, so he's now 19th quickest. Great pickup.
NASCAR Bud Pole qualifying from Martinsville Speedway is brought to you by Budweiser. It's time for a fresh one, so grab a Budweiser. The race is on. Greg Sachs is on track in the ARC de Hooker Dodge. That is a device used by commercial fishermen for catch and release of the things like turtles. See the sea turtle there that you're not supposed to catch. And they're going racing full time in the Cup Series next year with that team out of Florida.
But I don't think they're going to be racing here on Sunday because he's 42nd quickest, and that team is not very high in the points. So a lot like Kevin LePage, Ryan McGlynn, Bragg Teague, Greg Sachs will not be racing this Sunday.
Add Carl Long to that list. He hit the wall during practice, and Carl's car will not be presented for a qualifying attempt. So Long is headed home.
The red, white, and blue colors of Kirk Shermandine right now on the racetrack. See if Kirk can get himself into this race right here on Sunday.
He was the slowest of the cars earlier in practice.
And Larry, just watch him drive off in that corner. I could see, at least get a feel of why he's not getting down in the corner nowhere near aggressively enough. Where we've seen some guys overdrive the corner, he is being too tender.
We'll give him some good advice, Jeff, because he's in the show for Sunday based on the drivers that have failed to make the top 38 so far. Shelmardy's going to be there based on perhaps provisional points, but he'll make the race.
We have some pretty good cars left to qualify. Michael Waltrip, Tony Stewart, Casey Mears, and the last guy to go out will be Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that Budweiser car.
And he was 3rd quickest in practice, so Ron Newman can't quite enjoy his pole position yet.
21:52 for Kirk. And it's kind of a one and overdone.
Yeah, and he's pretty much banking on that provisional start.
Yeah, I think he'll get one. Marty?
And Ryan Newman will have to wait, like Jeff Hammond said, until the very last car. Dale Earnhardt Jr., are conditions right for you to knock him off the pole?
Yeah, I don't know. I ain't real sure what the condition the track's in. It looks like a lot of guys are having a hard time getting a hold of the track. The temperature's real cold, but we'll go out there and see. I don't know if Ryan's got too much to worry about. We'll just try to get in the top 10, top 5, get us a good pit stop.
He was 3rd fastest in the practice this morning.
And I'd have to say, being 2nd in the points, that's what he's much more worried about than sitting on the pole, is just a good top 5, top 10 start.
He's thinking big picture, and as you brought up early in our broadcast, the pit stops are so important here, so getting a good pit stall is just as important.
Well, it comes down to this. The Racing with Jesus Dodge of Morgan Shepherd. If Shepherd is in the top 38, he races, and Kevin LePage goes home. If Shepherd is not quick enough, he goes to the house, and LePage and Gosselin would get the last 2 provisionals.
Morgan won here in 1981, his rookie year, driving for a local businessman, Cliff Stewart.
Up on the chip. He takes it down into turn one. First lap, not enough. 20:55. He's going to need one. He's going to need a couple of tenths.
At least, yeah.
Got to make the top 38 or go home. He is out of provisional starts.
Needs to run in the low 20s at least.
Can he do it?
Don't think so.
No. Second lap, same as the first. So Morgan Shepherd will be one of the 7 drivers going home. No! Michael Waltrip's Car and Camera. Good time for that. All new season of The Simpsons begins November 7th only on Fox.
Did they put that up there with Michael on purpose?
You never know.
Timing is everything.
You never know what happens down in that truck late in the show. You know what? They didn't get their delivery of hot dogs.
Oh, is that what it was?
So that's what it was.
Didn't get those corn dogs, huh?
Michael Waltrip in the Napa Chevy. Michael's been racing here since 1986 when he came here driving for Dick Bear in a Pontiac. Finished third here in 2000. His best short track finish in 135 races.
He was only 30th quickest in practice, and this will be the second week that Michael is working with new crew chief Pete Rondeau. Slugger Labby, after they tested here a couple of weeks ago, stepped down. And actually Slugger is still with DEI, but he's basically looking into all 4 race teams there, the 2 Nextel Cup teams as well as the 2 Busch Series teams, trying to make sure all the information gets shared. Michael's first lap, 36 quickest at a 2024. That will bump Mario Gosselin to the house in the 80 car.
He's picking up on his second lap, but his first lap was about 2 tenths slower than what he had practiced at, Larry.
20:01, 27th fastest for Michael. So the going home list is set. Morgan Shepherd is out of provisionals. Klaus Graf, Mike Garvey don't have a provisional available. Carl Long did not make a qualifying run. So that puts Greg Sachs, Ryan McGlynn, and Brad Teague. Assuming, now that of course assumes that the next 3 drivers time trial in the top 38 and don't have trouble. So I said it was set. I was wrong as usual. It is set if Tony Stewart, Casey Mears, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. run a top 38 lap. For Stewart, this will be his 12th Martinsville appearance. He has 2 poles and 2 other occasions where or 3 occasions where he took starts deep in the field and turned them into top 15 finishes.
And he was 5th quickest in practice earlier, Tony Stewart in a 20 car. And Tony, like a lot of guys in this chase for the championship that we've talked about, he is 6th in the points, but 204 points behind leader Kurt Busch right now.
In his Cup career, he has won on a short track in 1 out of every 7 starts. That is quite a good average in this league.
Good lap. First lap, 12th quickest, 1979.
We're looking to improve upon that if he can. The second lap, but noticed it there a minute ago, he had his hands full going through those corners.
1979-7, difference of 3 1/1000ths. And it seems in the second half of this session, the drivers have not at all been quicker on their second lap.
And you have to believe it's something like that's got to be the rubber going down on the racetrack right now by the more cars that run.
Jeff Hammond's favorite promo, Autorotica, the Goodwood Festival of Speed. If you haven't seen it yet on one of its many replays on Speed, catch it this Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. A great festival. It's like an overdose of wonderful classic cars and drivers.
It really is, Mike. And if anybody ever has an opportunity to go there, don't pass it up.
The Fujifilm Target Dodge for Casey Mears. Officially on the hot seat now is Mike Garvey.
He was 28th fastest at the end of the first practice, guys.
This will be his 4th Martinsville appearance. 2 poles this year.
This will be the 3rd and final race for the pink paint scheme. Remember, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Target and Ganassi Racing donating money to breast cancer awareness based on how many laps the Target Dodge completes this month.
Great cause, one that Dale and Kelly Jarrett all have supported for many, many years through the Susan B. Komen Foundation. 36 for Casey Mears. That will send Mike Garvey home officially, a lap of 2017. You know, this field's going to be a little slower. We thought it would take a lap in the 19s to make the show. The worst lap under 20 seconds, put it that way, the first lap under 20 is now Joe Nemechek at 28th. Casey Mears just timed in 27th at 1998. So it's
28 cars in the 19-second bracket.
1 to go, and that one is Dale Earnhardt Jr., the runner-up in the chase for the Nextel Cup, 24 points out of first. He has 7 straight top 10 starts here at Martinsville Speedway. The German road racer Klaus Graf is right now 38th and on the hot seat for going home.
But I think the biggest thing, and you heard it in his interview, he just don't need to try to shoot for that 1951. He just needs to be a little bit conservative. Good top 5, top 8 run will be just fine here for this Budweiser car.
For track position and pit position, right now only 3 of the chase for the Cup drivers are in the top 10. Newman, Busch, and Mayfield.
Tell you what, the car rolled through the center pretty good, but he paid the price just a little bit off the corner. But if he can get through 3 and 4, he will accomplish what he needs to accomplish. It popped the green there just for a second in the middle of 1 and 2. This is going to be a great run for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Third, 1968, 1/100th, less than 100th of a second off Rusty Wallace.
And to be honest with you, Larry, if you're down on the pole, I kind of like being third.
Inside line.
Inside line. A lot of guys right there telling me they believe this could be a one-groove racetrack, so being on the inside could turn out to be pretty good luck for his number 8 car.
So Klaus Graf will go home. Casey Kane gets the 38th and final spot. It's an all Dodge front row and an all Chevy row 2. We'll hear from the pole sitter when we come back. Ryan Newman leads the league in poles. He now has 7. His 25th career pole moves him into 25th place on the all-time pole winners list, passing Alan Kulwicki and Jack Smith. 25 poles in 112 races. That is 22%. That is phenomenal. Let's talk to him.
That's a pretty good record, Mike, and this is his 10th front row start of the year. So what's the best thing about starting on the pole at Martinsville, the track position or that number 1 pit stall, Ryan?
Best answer I got for you is both. You know, it's definitely good to start up front, but you can gain so much time basically just coming off pit road when you got that number 1 pit stall, and I'm 99.9% sure Matt Borland's going to pick that number 1 stall. So we'll just see what we can do in race trim. I think we didn't come here and test, but we'll just have to see how we can adapt to race trim, and hopefully it's as good as qualifying trim.
New surface, clearly very fast. Will we see 2-wide racing though on Sunday?
You'll see racing. It'll be 2-wide. I don't know as 2-wide as much as it was before, but you know, I think it's one thing is to keep the track clean, especially up higher there, and we'll just have to see. You know, there's going to be fast cars and slow cars, and that usually makes for 2-wide racing.
Ryan, in a car that has never driven a race before, will lead him to the green flag on Sunday. Mike?
I bet if Matt Borland don't pick that number 1 pit stall, I'm going to go have a conversation with him.
Going to be a good party at Penske Racing South because they are starting 1st, 2nd, 5th with Travis Quaffle and 14th with Brendan Gaughan. Only 3 of our Cup chasers in the top 10 right now.
I tell you, pretty impressive with Travis Quaffle there inside row 3 and Jeff Green outside row 5, Scott Riggs outside row 3.
And Jeff Green in the top 10 for the Petties. Also impressive. A lot of Dodges up there in that top dozen.
I'd say this will be the man everybody will be watching him practice in the morning and see what he can do from that 15th starting spot.
But there's some heavy hitters spread out through this entire field, guys, so it's going to be some intense racing. We see a lot of our contenders all the way back to the back, a lot of toward the front, so there's going to be some pushing and shoving going on.
Casey Kane got the last spot on time in the field. Nice job by Chad Chaffin to get in. Elliott Sadler deep, and there's the rest of the field. We've already given you the names that went home. There's another look at them. So the Rocket dominates Martinsville He's the new track record holder. Congratulations to Ryan Newman on his 7th Bud Pole of the season. Enjoy the Subway 500 on Sunday.